On FanDuel Casino, new players get 350 bonus spins for a chance at the number one feeling, which is still winning. Better than number 53, finding a rogue curly fry in your regular fries.
Hi and welcome to my guide. Today we will be completing the Quest Underground Pass. The quest requirement is Biohazard and the stat requirement is 25 ranged. Now we do have two skill suggestions. One is having 50 or higher thieving, because this will unlock a shortcut in the pass, as well as a high agility level. The higher your agility, the better. Since a follow-up quest Regicide requires you to get 56 agility anyway, why not just get that agility level for the underground pass to make your life a lot easier. 40 items needed. Any kind of bow and knife. Next, continue. Once you see a dungeon sign, be sure that you have one empty inventory slot, and let's talk to him to get some cloth. Next, use the oily cloth on your arrows to get a fire arrow. Use this on the everlasting fire next to the southern wall. Then go around the northern rock and make your way to the fence next to the creek. Then turn your camera towards the creek or the other side and you'll find a guide rope. Equip your bow and your fire arrow. Be sure that you do not drop anything you do not want to. Successfully done this, your character will automatically cross the bridge. If you fail, they will need to go back to Koftik, get more oily cloth, make more fire arrows and try again. Now, more fire bridge will automatically next to the creek, then next to. Be sure that you have one empty inventory slot, and let's talk to him to get some cloth. Next, use the oily cloth on your arrows to get a fire arrow. Use this on the everlasting fire next to the southern wall. Then go around the northern rock and make your way to the fence next to the creek. Then turn your camera towards the creek or the other side and you'll find a guide rope. Equip your. Next, use the oily cloth on your arrows to get a fire arrow. arrow. Be sure that you do not drop anything you do not want to lose, and then fire at the guide rope. If you've successfully done this, your character will automatically cross the bridge. If you fail, they will need to go back to Koftik, get more oily cloth, make more fire arrows, and try again. Next, let's go north. You'll find a red dot on your minimap. Pick up that plank, and then go back south and follow this dungeon. Follow the dungeon until you see a rock which will split the path in two. South there's some water, ignore that, go to the pit. And above the pit they'll find some hanging rock. Use your rope on it, on the overhanging rock. If you would fail the rope swing, simply follow the path back to the entrance of the path, and then simply make your way back to this pit to try again and use your second rope. Once you have successfully swung across the pit, let's follow the dungeon until we see a grid. And this will be the second most annoying part of this quest. I want to say 4 things about this grid. First, the safe path to get across the grid is random for everyone. Second, how to get across this grid safely without the use of any bugs. That will mean that we will have to do this by trial and error. And by each error you will take 15 damage, which is part 3. And then for part 4, use rapid heal, because we will be passing an altar really soon. So what I mean by trial and error is by simply go to any of these grid lines and see if you fail or not. If that part of the grid isn't part of your safe pass across the grid, then you will fall into a pit and take 15 damage. Simply click around the walls to climb back up and try again. What you could do if you're using the RuneLite client, if you already know what part of the grid is correct for you, hold down shift and then mark that tile. If you're not using RuneLite, then you could also simply use your notepad and just mark it. That way, which ones are, and then save the northern one, and let's use till we've made it to the well and the altar. Right, let's recharge our prayer points. And in this area you will find 4 paths. Let's start with the northern one and let's use our plank on the flat rock. 2 more times until you see an orb. Grab that orb and then use a plank to get back to the center of the room. And in this area you will do on a flat rock, or maybe use an orb. Grab that of the room. Once you're back in the center, let's do this anti-clockwise. The northwestern one is pretty simple. Simply ignore the monsters and grab that orb. Maybe use protect from melee, because else you'll be taking unnecessary damage. Once you got the second orb, let's return to the center and let's take the western passage. This one is the same one as the north one. Oh, seems to be there is a furnace, and inside that furnace we will need to put these 4 orbs on the furnace, and let's search the crates to cage gate of a. Next, let's go a little bit because this will be the final altar in this dungeon. Once we've done this, let's climb down the well to level 2 of this dungeon. Next, let's go a little bit west and let's search the crates to find some food. Next, let's follow the dungeon and picklock the first southern gate of a cage. Once you're inside, let's go south, and next to the southern wall you'll find some loose mud. Use your spade on it. Next, follow this path until you see a ledge. Use your agility skill to try to cross this. If you fail, you will end up at the blessed giant rats. Simply make your way back to the cage and try again. Next, go a little bit south and you'll find some walkways, which once again you will need to use your agility to get across. But if you have 50 thieving, then you can simply skip this part. If you don't have 50 thieving, simply go across the walkway, then follow the path going south, north, north, and then you'll make it to the end. But since I have 50 thieving, I'm simply going south of the walkways, and I'm gonna picklock this gate. Then I'm simply gonna be running east and simply avoid all of that stuff. Right, once you've made it past the agility obstacle, let's continue the dungeon and squeeze through the pipe. Next, go a bit west and you'll find a cage. Search it to find a railing. Next, let's go up the slope a bit south of the unicorn. And because no innocent soul can enter Iban's cavern, let's use the rails to search the cage to find a unicorn horn. Search the cage to find a unicorn horn. Next, go north and pass through the tunnel. Follow the dungeon once again until you see 3 paladins. By the way, while you're running towards them, you may drop your rope because this is not needed anymore, as well as your leftover arrows, as well as your bow. We will be needing a lot more inventory space. Once you've found the 3 paladins, be sure to have at least 7 empty inventory slots, and let's talk to Sir Jarrow. And he will provide you with some supplies. Let's repay this kind sir by simply killing him as well as his 2 colleagues for their paladin badges. Because once again, no innocent soul can enter Iban's cavern. Once you've gotten your 3rd paladin badge, let's go a bit west and use your plank on the final flat rock of this pass. Let's continue west until you see a well. By the way, once you've completed this quest, you will need to return to this well and use Ivan's staff on it to be able to recharge it. Here at the well, let's use the 3 badges on it and toss it in there, as well as the unicorn horn. And now Ivan will know that your heart is pretty tainted and definitely not innocent. And he will unlock the door just west. And welcome to the second part of this quest. Continue through the conversation with Kaftek. Once the conversation is over, let's equip our weight-reducing clothing again, and you may drop your plank as well as your spade. Next, 3 stamina potions of 4 doses as well as your weight-reducing clothing, then also some food to heal. On the conversation is over, let's equip our weight-reducing clothing again, and you may and toss it in there as well. And welcome to the second part of this quest. Continue through the conversation with Kaftek. Once the conversation is over, let's equip our weight-reducing clothing again, and you may drop your plank as well as your spade. Next, let's run south. This area is quite massive, so simply keep running south until you can't go any further. Once you've made it to the southeastern corner, let's continue west until you see some stairs or a dungeon sign. There you'll find some stairs. Climb down or descend into the cave. Cave. And next to you, you'll find a fence. Use your minimap and click in it to go and enter this camp. Inside, you'll find 3 dwarves. You will need to talk to Niloof. He's the first one next to the gate. Let's talk to Niloof. and he will provide with some more supplies. Next, if you would ever get in a dire need of food inside of this dungeon, you will always be able to talk to Cayman and simply decline his offer and then pay him 75 GP, and he will always provide some food for you. Once you've spoken to Niluf, let's exit this camp and let's go back ascending the cave. Ascending the stairs to go back to the large area. Let's return the way we came from. But this time, you will need to look for some walkways that you're able to walk onto, and then walk onto the very first one you're able to walk onto. They will immediately see that the walkway is broken. Simply click on the hole to try to jump it. If you'd fail, you will have returned to the area downstairs with the dwarves. Simply go back south, return all the way back to the walkway to try again. The success rate of jumping this gap all depends on your agility level. This is why I suggested you to get 56 agility at the start of this quest. Once you've successfully jumped the gap, let's go south and you'll find a small house. Do not enter it, but right-click on the door and then search it. Wait, what? Next to the door, you'll find a window. Search it and click to continue. Next, go back. North, back to the gap that we have just successfully jumped from, but instead of going east, let's continue west and try to jump this gap as well. If you've successfully done this, continue north until you find a yellow dot on your minimap. Run towards it and pick up the witch's cat. Once you've done this, let's go back south, jump the gap, simply yellow dot on your minimap. Run towards it and pick up the witch's cat. Once you've returned to the house, use the witch's cat on the door. And the witch will be distracted. Click to continue and then make some space in your inventory. Be sure to have at least 4 empty inventory slots. Next, open the door, and next to the door you'll find a chest. Open it, and then click to continue. Once you got the doll of Ivan, let's exit her out. And let's go back up north. Once again, let's jump the western gap. And instead of going north where the cat was, we'll now need to go south. Following the southern walkway, you will find one more gap, as well as 3 demons. Defeat all 3 of them and pick up their amulets.
We are not a traditional cafe. We're completely unconventional, and my Wix website really has to capture the same magic.
Alright, once you've defeated the 3rd demon, let's jump the gap once again towards Doomian, and north of him you'll find a chest. Open it once you have all 3D amulets. And by doing this, you just got Ivan's shadow put on the doll. This was item 1 out of 4 that we'll need to put on the doll. So what we'll now need to do is make our way back downstairs. We will now need to go back to the dwarves. So either run all the way back, or if your agility level is like less than 80, you could probably try to jump across the gaps until you finally failed a gap. Right, once you've made it back to the basement, let's return to the dwarves, and we'll now need to talk to Clank. Talk to Clank, the darker skin colored one, I think, and he will give you his gauntlets. Next, let's enter the western building with the anvil sign. They'll find a bucket spawn. Let's take it, and then enter the eastern, smaller shed. Inside, next to the eastern wall, you'll find a barrel. Use a bucket on the brew barrel. A bucket spawn. Let's take it. And then enter the eastern, smaller shed. Inside, next to the eastern wall, you'll find a barrel. Use a bucket on the brew barrel, and then close the door. Behind the door, you'll find a dinner box. Take it, and then exit. Next, we'll need to go east of the entrance, or the stairs going to the upper level. Just east of the stairs, you should find Ivan's tomb. Use the dwarf's brew on it, and then set it ablaze using your tinderbox to smear the ashes of Ivan on the doll. Next, let's go north-northwest. You may drop your bucket as well as your tinderbox, by the way. And continue going north to kill the final monster in this quest, which is a combat 90 spider. Keep going north until you see a corridor with a lot of blessed spiders. Go inside that corridor and try to kill the combat 90 giant spider. But if you're less than combat 80, then all these small monsters will be attacking you. Oh, they changed this? Oh, that's nice. Previously, before Song of the Elves was released, less than combat, keep going north until you see a corridor with a lot of blessed spiders. Go inside that corridor and try to kill the combat 90 giant spider. But if you're less than combat 80, then all these small monsters will be attacking you. Oh, they changed this? Oh, that's nice. Previously, before Song of the Elves was released, it was so annoying to be able to attack Kelrak because all the small ones, their attack speed was a lot faster. It was really difficult to be able to attack Kelrak. If you're an archer or a ranger, simply stand next to the eastern wall, stand between the two skeletons, and that would be your best available safe spot in this area. And once you've defeated Kelrak, you smeared Ibel's best available safe spot in this area. And once you've defeated Kelrak, you smeared Ibel's blood over the wall. That is item 3 out of 4. Next. To be able to attack Kelrak. If you're an archer or a ranger, simply stand next to the eastern wall, stand between the two skeletons, and that would be your best available safe spot in this area. And once you've defeated Kelrak, you smeared Ibel's blood over the wall. That is item 3 out of 4. Next, exit the corridor and then go northwest. Keep going northwest until you see a narrow passage. Follow it to the dungeon sign, and then ascend the stairs. Next, go south, and keep going south until you see a third ledge. And the third ledge, you will immediately need to jump a gap. Jump that gap, and then go north. Then go east. Follow it, and then take the first one west. Be sure to equip Clank's gauntlets, and then search that cage. And by searching this cage, you have found a final item which you have smeared over the doll of Ivan. Next, let's go back south, back the way we came. But instead of gauntlets, and then search that cage. And by searching this cage, you have found a final item which you have smeared over the doll of Ivan. Next, let's go back south, back the way we came. But instead of going back and jumping the gap to the western side, we will now need to go east and follow this walkway. At the T-junction, go south until you see 2 gaps. Those are the final 2 gaps that we will need to jump. If you're about to fail these ones, then yeah, try to get back. Right, once you've successfully jumped those 2 gaps, let's kill one disciple of Ivan, and then grab their robes. Grab the Zamorak monk robe and bottom, equip both of them, and then go west towards the door. Be sure use right click on the doll and then use it on the well to basically complete your quest. So once you got the item stuff in your inventory, let's teleport or simply follow the dungeon to make our way back to West Ardoin, and let's simply return to the quest start, talk to King Lathis, let's teleport or simply follow the dungeon to make our way back to West Ardoin, and let's simply return to the quest start, talk to King Lathis to complete our quest. Quest. And congratulations, you've just completed the quest with the darkest story in the game. You are awarded with 5 quest points, 3000 attack and agility experience, as well as Ivan Staff, which has the ability to cast Ivan Blast. And you've now also completed a quest requirement for Legends Quest, Recipe for Disaster freeing Emic Vaz, as well as Regicide.